The Hezel Plateau, located in the north of Brussels, is subject to multiple projects that will change its face in the near future, the main one being the renovation of the Klein Baudouin Stadium. The plateau is a lively area comprised of the Klein Baudouin Stadium, the Trainmart Brussels, the upcoming NEO projects, which will consist of dwellings and public infrastructures, and landmarks such as the Atomium and the Brussels Expo. The stadium offers large modulable spaces, but is far from being up to standards and needs a complete makeover. Let's see what it would take to solve this issue. The circulations are not fit for the number of seats that they serve, and therefore need to be enlarged. Some types of seats are lacking, such as PRM conform seats, which are currently representing more than a tenth of what's needed by the standards, and VIP seats, which do not offer sufficient spacing and level of comfort. The grandstands are the most critical part of this diagnosis, as they necessitate a massive amount of work and money to be put up to standards. The spacing, height, and width of the seats are wrong, and the structure itself needs to be drastically changed to be standardized. The spectator's vision on the field is also subpar in many areas of the grandstand. The available surface per spectator needs to be greater to accommodate the UFA's expectations. Private boxes are also lacking and duly needed to welcome VIP guests. Other areas need to be looked at, such as, firstly, the number of emergency stations, and secondly, the number of lavatories. Taking all of those previous elements into account, we also have to look at how the stadium relates to the upcoming NEO projects, which, as we've mentioned before, are comprised of residential buildings as well as public infrastructures. As we can see, the dramatically small areas that can be attributed to the stadium's activities, as well as the proximity with tall and more private buildings and the issue of sound during events, make the situation quite complex for both parties. Neither of them are getting a satisfactory deal at the end of the day. On top of this, a deal has been signed with the NEO projects, stipulating that no more than a total of 10 events per year can occur within the stadium. Adding to it, no sports team can make it its home, missing on a hefty €9.5 million yearly rent. Moreover, the goal set by the renovation project is of 40,000 seats, which is insufficient compared to the 50,000 required to host UFA games. What we are exploring here is an alternative way of looking at the problematic and a credible solution to the many issues encountered on the current stadium site by going on the other side of the plateau and looking at the Trainmart Brussels site. The absence of any nearby infrastructures allows for a much larger available area for future stadium's activities. This also solves the issue caused by the very intense sound emitted by the stadium during events. Notably, the only infrastructures affected by the stadium's reach are not residential. The Bureau and Design Center, the Fashion Garden, and the Trademark Brussels are all part of the Brussels International Trade Marts and constitute a platform for fashion businesses and offices. The Trademark Brussels is leasing the land from the city of Brussels and has its shares divided in two between AG Real Estate and Crow Holding. Although, it is now in a critical state, as it is on the verge of closing its doors due to a serious lack of interest in the building. The choices we make have consequences, but they are the opportunity to be proactive in the area, as we can make way for a Neo3 project by demolishing the previous stadium and using its remains for construction. We've also made the conscious choice of not including an athletic track to the stadium. New projects, such as the new stadium by OMA, willingly exclude it for architectural and financial reasons, while past stadiums, such as the Stade de France, are taking it away for good. We've experienced this firsthand in our early drafts, as we were reproducing a number of issues that the Etienne Baudouin Stadium has. As we've examined multiple scenarios for the financial cost of this enterprise, we have come to the conclusion that it would be most beneficial to transfer to the Trademark site. The upfront cost of the land would be almost compensated by selling the previous one, on top of all the benefits that come with distancing ourselves from the Neo projects. Our plan consists of 3 steps. First, the purchase and construction of the Trademark's land. In the meantime, the current stadium is kept as is, so that the Memorial Van Damme's athletic track can find a new home. And lastly, the hypothetical Neo3 project replaces the Etienne Baudouin Stadium. What partly led us to place the stadium where it is now is the convergence of the present axes on the plateau formed by the Neo projects and the already present landmark buildings. We also want to ensure that there is a continuity on the site by prolonging materiality from the plateau and allowing for a continuation of the Osselian Park on the new plot. We are using a variety of materials to integrate the project as well as possible to the surrounding nature and also the landmarks of the site. We knew early in the project that we wanted to have a facet that allows for targeted openings on the plateau's landmarks, especially the Atomium and the Osselian Park. We are, in the end, using a system of variably spaced claddings, which will date closer or not, depending on the inner function's intended views of the outside. The continuity of the Osselian Park plays an important part in the project. The stadium's ground floor circular walkway serves as an intermediary between the park and the rest of the plateau, making it a lively place where people would be incentivized to go shop, eat, and enjoy a walk before a visit at one of the many activities that the Hezel Plateau has to offer. We also have integrated a sports medical center and a hotel on the northeast part of the plot to be able to welcome professional athletes and great influxes of people before, during, and after events. The stadium's activities are accessible on its outer rims, except on the ground floor, where it serves both sides, allowing for a strong link with the inner space between the envelope and the structure. Entering the stadium is done either by the open entrances leading to the lower rings, or the vertical circulations placed all along the walkway. The lower levels are comprised of spaces dedicated to welcoming players, the National Sports Museum, and parking spots. The upper levels offer a variety of catering services and stores for the public in direct link with the grandstands, in an effort to strengthen the flow between these two major facets of the building. VIP and VVIP guests have their own lounge, which they can access directly through private elevators, and acts as a more intimate space that they might desire during events. From there, they can access their own compartments and get a privileged experience of the events, either from inside or outside. The structure is designed to be inviting. It is important to us that once people have entered the first layer of the stadium, they are incentivized to go even further and get curious about what's inside by seeing lights coming from afar, combined to the curved-shaped structure leading towards the field.